Mrs. Park smiled at the cameras like she'd already won. Her former daughter-in-law was unemployed, homeless, and completely destroyed in the public eye. The foreigner who thought she could marry into a powerful Korean family had finally learned her place. What Mrs. Park didn't see was the black car parked across the street. Inside sat Seo Jin-woo, a man whose name made politicians nervous and business rivals disappear. He was watching Mrs. Park's interview, his expression unreadable. 3 years ago, McKenna Ndlovu had saved his life when anyone else would have walked away. And since then, he had always had a crush on her. Now the Park family had just painted a target on their own backs, and they had no idea the storm that was coming. The conference rooms smelled like expensive perfume and quiet judgment. McKenna sat at the long table, her hands folded in her lap, refusing to let them shake. Across from her, her soon-to-be ex-husband Park Min-ho scrolled through his phone like this was just another business meeting. His mother sat beside him, back straight, lips pressed into a thin line of disgust. Mrs. Park had perfected that look over the past 5 years. Today she wore it like armor. "Shall we begin?" Min-ho's lawyer opened a leather folder. The sound echoed in the silence. McKenna's lawyer, a kind woman named Miss Song, who worked for legal aid, nodded. "We're ready." "My client is willing to offer a settlement of 50 million won," the expensive lawyer said. He didn't look at McKenna when he spoke, as if she wasn't worth eye contact. 50 million won. About $35,000. For 5 years of her life. Miss Song started to respond, but Mrs. Park cut her off. "That's generous considering what she brought to this marriage." Her voice carried across the table like ice water. "Nothing. She brought nothing." "Mrs. Park, please," the lawyer said quietly. "Let me handle this." But Mrs. Park wasn't finished. She turned to face McKenna directly for the first time that morning. "You should be grateful. You lived in our home, ate our food, wore clothes we paid for. You learned Korean using tutors we hired. And how did you repay us?" She paused, making sure everyone in the room was listening. "By embarrassing this family." McKenna felt heat creeping up her neck, but she kept her voice steady. "I never embarrassed anyone. Your very presence was an embarrassment." Mrs. Park's words landed like slaps. "Do you know what people said when Min-ho brought home a black foreign woman? Do you know what our friends whispered?" Min-ho still hadn't looked up from his phone. "That's enough, Miss Song said firmly. "This is a legal proceeding, not a personal attack." Mrs. Park smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Everything about this divorce is personal. She trapped my son into marriage, and now she wants to profit from it." "I never trapped anyone," McKenna said, her voice stronger now. "And I don't want your money." The room went quiet. Min-ho finally looked up. "What?" His mother turned to stare at her. "I said so. I don't want the settlement." McKenna looked directly at Min-ho. "I just want this to be over." For a moment, something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe, or shame. Then it was gone. Well, his lawyer cleared his throat. That simplifies things. "No, Mrs. Park's voice was sharp. "She's playing a game. She wants more." "I want nothing," McKenna repeated. She stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. "Mims Song, can we sign whatever papers make this final?" Her lawyer nodded, already pulling documents from her bag. Mrs. Park stood too, her face flushed with anger. "You think refusing money makes you noble. You think this changes what you are." "Mother," Min-ho said quietly. It was the first word he'd spoken directly to her, but his mother wasn't listening. "You came here with nothing. You'll leave with nothing. And everyone will know exactly what kind of woman you really are." The threat hung in the air like smoke. McKenna signed the papers with steady hands. She'd learned something important over 5 years in the Park family. Never let them see you cry. 20 minutes later, she walked out of that building a divorced woman. She thought the worst was over. She was wrong. The first article appeared 3 days later. McKenna was apartment hunting, scrolling through listings on her phone, while sitting in a cheap coffee shop, when her phone started buzzing. Text after text from people she barely knew. "Is this true? OMG, did you see what they're saying? You need to check online right now." Her hands went cold as she opened the search browser. Her name appeared in the suggestions before she finished typing it. The headline made her stomach drop. "Foreign gold digger caught. Park family speaks out about manipulation and lies." The article was on a gossip site, the kind that walked the line between news and fiction, but it looked official enough. There were quotes from anonymous family sources describing how McKenna had targeted Min-ho specifically because of his wealth. "She researched our family before they even met," one quote read. "It was all calculated. Another section detailed expensive gifts she'd supposedly demanded, jewelry she'd never owned, shopping trips that never happened. The lies were so specific, so detailed, that they almost sounded true. At the bottom was a photo. Makina at a charity gala 2 years ago, wearing a borrowed dress, holding a glass of champagne. The caption read, "Living the luxury life on someone else's money." Her phone buzzed again. This time it was an email. She'd been let go from her part-time job at the cultural center. "Due to recent publicity, we feel it's best to part ways." She'd worked there for 3 years. The buzzing didn't stop. More messages, some supportive, most curious. Everyone wanted to know if the article was true. Everyone had suddenly become very interested in her life. By evening, 2 more articles had appeared, each one worse than the last. By the end of the week, she'd lost her apartment deposit because the landlord didn't want that kind of tenant. 3 job interviews were suddenly canceled. Her social media filled with strangers calling her names in Korean and English. Someone had given the reporters her phone number. It rang constantly with people asking for comments, for interviews, for her side of the story. She stopped answering. If you're listening to this and wondering how things can fall apart so quickly, hit that like button. Because trust me, you won't believe how much worse it gets. And if you want to see Makina get her revenge, you might want to stick around for this whole story. 2 weeks after the divorce, Makina sat in her tiny rented room, the kind of place that came furnished with furniture nobody wanted, and tried to figure out what to do next. Her savings were running low, her reputation was destroyed, and the articles kept coming. This latest one claimed she'd stolen documents from Minho's company. Former daughter-in-law accused of corporate espionage. The headline screamed. It was all lies, but lies with just enough truth mixed in to make them stick. She had worked briefly at Minho's company, in the Foreign Relations Department. She had seen documents, but she'd never stolen anything. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello, Mrs. Ndlovu? This is Attorney Kang from Seoul Legal Aid. I've been following your case in the media." Her heart sank. "I didn't steal anything. I know." The voice was calm, professional. "That's why I'm calling. I'd like to represent you. I can't afford an attorney. Your retainer has been paid." Makina sat up straighter. "By who?" "The donor wishes to remain anonymous. But they've paid for 6 months of legal representation, including defamation suits, if you choose to pursue them." "I don't understand. Who would do that?" "I'm not at liberty to say. But Miss Ndlovu, you have someone in your corner. Use it." The call ended, leaving Makina staring at her phone in confusion. Someone was helping her. But who and why? The question ate at her for days. She made lists of possibilities. Old friends. No, none of them had that kind of money. Former colleagues? Unlikely. A stranger? That made no sense. Meanwhile, Attorney Kang went to work. He contacted the websites, demanded retractions, and threatened lawsuits. Some of the smaller articles disappeared, but the big ones stayed up, and new ones kept appearing. Someone was feeding the media stories. Someone with money and connections. Someone who wanted her destroyed. 3 weeks after the divorce, Makina forced herself to attend a community event at the Korean African Cultural Exchange Center. She'd been avoiding public places, but hiding wasn't helping. If anything, it made her look guilty. The center was hosting a networking mixer, the kind of event where people pretended to care about cultural exchange, while really just looking for business connections. She almost turned around at the door, but she'd already paid the registration fee, and she couldn't afford to waste money. Inside, the room buzzed with conversation. Small groups clustered around tall tables, drinking wine and eating canapes. Makina recognized a few faces, mostly other foreigners who'd married into Korean families. Their eyes slid away when they saw her. Nobody wanted to be associated with a scandal. She was reaching for a glass of water when someone spoke beside her. "The spring rolls are better than they look." Makina turned. The man standing next to her was tall, probably in his mid-30s, wearing a simple black sweater and dark jeans. His face was striking, but not in an obvious way. Sharp jawline, intense eyes, the kind of person you'd remember once you really looked at them. "Sorry," she said. He gestured at the food table. "The spring rolls. They look dry, but they're actually good. The crab cakes are terrible, though." Despite everything, Makina almost smiled. "Thanks for the warning. You're Makina Ndlovu." Her defenses went up immediately. "And you're someone who reads gossip websites." "I'm someone who knows gossip when I sees it." He picked up a spring roll, proving his own recommendation. "None of those articles make sense." If you were really a gold digger, you would have taken the settlement money. She stared at him. How do you know about that? Seoul is a small city when you know the right people. He extended his hand. Seo Jin-woo. The name meant nothing to her. She shook his hand anyway. Do you make a habit of talking to strangers about their divorce? Only when the stranger looks like she's about to leave a perfectly good networking event because people are being idiots. They're not being idiots. They're being careful. Same thing. He took a bite of his spring roll. So are you going to hide in the corner all night? Or are you going to make them uncomfortable by staying? Makina found herself studying him. There was something different about the way he talked to her. No pity, no judgment, no curiosity about the scandals. Just conversation. Who are you really? She asked. Just someone who knows what it's like when people make assumptions. Before she could ask what that meant, someone called his name from across the room. He glanced over, then back at her. I have to go. But Makina? He waited until she met his eyes. Don't let them make you small. You're better than all of them combined. He walked away before she could respond, disappearing into the crowd. She didn't see him again that night. But when she asked the organizer about him later, the woman's face went pale. Seo Jin-woo was here? At our event? Yes, why? He never comes to things like this. He's very private. Who is he? The woman lowered her voice like they were discussing something dangerous. He owns half the buildings in Gangnam. His company has contracts with the government. People say, she paused, people say he has connections everywhere. The kind you don't ask questions about. Makina's stomach twisted. What kind of connections? But the woman just shook her head and walked away. That night, Makina searched Seo Jin-woo online. There wasn't much. A few business articles, always in the background. Photos at charity events, never at the center. Company websites that listed him as CEO, but gave no personal information. And rumors. Lots of rumors. The kind that used words like influential and powerful and best not to cross. The kind that made her wonder why someone like that had bothered talking to her at all. 2 days later, another article appeared. This one had photos. Private photos from her honeymoon. Pictures Minho had taken on his phone, never meant to be public. Makina on the beach. Makina at dinner. Intimate moments now displayed for everyone to see and judge. The headline read, "The Honeymoon Scam. How One Woman Fooled Korea's Elite." The article twisted every photo, every moment. That smile wasn't real, it was calculated. That dress wasn't a gift, she'd demanded it. That jewelry wasn't borrowed, she'd kept it. Lies wrapped around truth until you couldn't separate them. Makina's hands shook as she read. This wasn't just about destroying her reputation anymore. This was about erasing her dignity. She called Attorney Kang. I want to sue all of them. I want to fight this. Miss Ndlovu, I understand you're upset, but litigation takes time and money, and it draws more attention. I don't care. They don't get to do this. There was a pause. Let me make some calls. But Makina, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to get worse before it gets better. She didn't believe him. She thought it couldn't possibly get worse. Then her mother called from South Africa. Baby, someone sent me the articles. Are you okay? These things they're saying. They're lies, Mama. All of it. I know that. But baby, maybe you should come home. Just for a while. I can't. If I run now, it proves them right. Her mother's sigh traveled across continents. You were always stubborn, like your father. But McKenna, please be careful. These people, they sound dangerous. After they hung up, McKenna sat in the growing darkness of her small room. Outside, Seoul glittered with lights. Millions of people living their lives, going to dinner, meeting friends, falling in love. She'd come to this city 6 years ago with hope. She'd learned the language, tried to understand the culture, and worked hard to fit into Minho's world. And for what? To be called a liar, a thief, a manipulator. Her phone buzzed with a new email. For a moment, she was afraid to open it. Another article, another accusation, but it was from Attorney Kang. I've filed preliminary paperwork against 3 publications. Also, someone sent this to my office anonymously. Thought you should see it. Attached was a photo of Mrs. Park having lunch with a journalist. The same journalist who'd written the honeymoon article. The timestamp showed it was from 2 days before the article appeared. Evidence. Not proof exactly, but evidence that the articles weren't random. Someone was orchestrating this. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. You don't know me, but I know what they're doing to you is wrong. The Park family is meeting with Congressman Yoon's people tomorrow at Cafe Meal in Gangnam, 2 p.m. Maybe worth investigating why. Makina stared at the message. Congressman Yoon? She knew that name. Minho's company had contracts with his office. She texted back, "Who is this?" No response. The next day, Makina sat in cafe meal at 1:30 p.m., tucked into a corner table with a newspaper in front of her face like some kind of spy movie. She felt ridiculous. This was probably nothing. The text was probably a prank. But she had nothing else to do, and nowhere else to be. At 2 p.m. exactly, Mrs. Park walked in. She wasn't alone. 3 other people joined her, 2 men in business suits, and 1 woman who moved with the confidence of someone used to power. They took a table near the window, far enough from McKenna that she couldn't hear them, close enough that she could watch. Mrs. Park did most of the talking, gesturing with her hands. One of the men nodded, made notes on a tablet. The woman smiled, but it was the kind of smile that had nothing to do with happiness. Makina tried to take a discreet photo with her phone, but the angle was wrong. She shifted in her seat, trying to get a better view. That's when she saw him. Seo Jin-woo sitting at the coffee bar, a laptop open in front of him. He wasn't looking at Mrs. Park's table. He was looking at McKenna. Their eyes met. He gave the smallest shake of his head. A warning. McKenna froze. What was he doing here? Had he sent the text? Before she could figure it out, the meeting at the window table ended. Mrs. Park and her companions stood, shook hands, left in different directions. Jin-woo closed his laptop and walked out without looking at her again. McKenna's phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Congressman Yoon is hiding something. 3 years ago, there was a merger deal between Minho's company and a pharmaceutical firm. You were working in the office then. You saw the documents. They know you saw them. Her blood went cold. She did remember. A late night at the office, Minho had left files on his desk. She'd been looking for her phone charger and accidentally knocked the papers over. She'd seen numbers, company names, dates. At the time, it meant nothing to her. But what if it meant something to someone else? What if this whole thing, the divorce, the articles, the attacks, what if none of it was really about her at all? What if she was just a loose end someone needed to tie up? The phone buzzed once more. Be careful. You're not paranoid. They really are watching. Makina looked around the coffee shop. Normal people doing normal things. But suddenly, everyone looked suspicious. The man reading a tablet. The woman on her phone. The server wiping tables. She left money on her table and walked out into the Seoul afternoon, her heart pounding. Someone was playing a game. A big, dangerous game with rules she didn't understand. And somehow, she'd ended up right in the middle of it. Makina spent that night going through old files on her laptop. She'd kept copies of her work emails, mostly because she'd never gotten around to deleting them. Now she searched through 3 years of messages, looking for anything about a pharmaceutical merger. She found it at 2 in the morning, an email chain she wasn't supposed to be copied on. Someone had made a mistake and included her by accident. The subject line was just Q4 projections, but the attached documents told a different story. GenMed Pharmaceuticals was being acquired by Minho's company. Nothing illegal about that, except the timing was interesting. The deal closed 2 weeks before new drug safety regulations went into effect. Regulations that would have stopped the merger completely. And Congressman Yoon's signature was on the approval documents. Makina sat back, her mind racing. She understood now. This wasn't just a business deal. This was corruption, insider trading, maybe worse. And she had proof sitting in her email inbox for 3 years. No wonder they wanted her discredited. If she ever came forward, if anyone ever took her seriously, the whole thing could unravel. Her phone buzzed. 3 a.m. Unknown number. Delete nothing. Back up everything. Trust no one. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Who was sending these messages? And how did they know what she was doing? She looked at her window. The curtains were closed. Nobody could see in. But the text had come right when she found the emails. Right when she understood. Someone was watching. But were they helping or threatening? She backed up the files to 3 different cloud drives, then unplugged her laptop. Probably paranoid. Probably unnecessary. But probably wasn't definitely, and definitely seemed dangerous right now. The next morning, exhausted and running on coffee, Makina met with Attorney Kang. His office was small but organized, files stacked neatly on metal shelves. He gestured for her to sit, his expression serious. "We have a problem," he said without preamble. "The Park family has filed a countersuit." For what? Defamation. They claim you've been telling people they fabricated the stories about you. They want 200 million won in damages. Makina laughed. It came out bitter. "I don't have 200 million won. I barely have 200,000. They know that. This isn't about money. It's about keeping you quiet. Attorney Kang leaned forward. Makina, I need to ask you something. Is there any reason the Park family would want to destroy your credibility beyond the divorce? She thought about the files on her laptop. The merger, the congressman, maybe. Maybe isn't an answer. I saw some documents a few years ago about a business deal. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but now, she paused. Now I think maybe it was something important. Attorney Kang's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. What kind of documents? A merger between Minho's company and a pharmaceutical firm. The timing seemed convenient. Do you still have these documents? Copies. In my email. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood and closed his office door, something he hadn't done before. Mrs. Ndlovu, I'm going to be very direct with you. If what you're suggesting is true, you're not dealing with a family dispute anymore. You're dealing with people who have significant resources and significant motivation to protect themselves. I know. I don't think you do. He sat back down. These people can do more than write mean articles. They can fabricate evidence. They can make you disappear from polite society entirely. They can. He stopped. What? They can make things very difficult, and my legal aid budget only covers so much. Makina felt cold. Are you saying you can't help me? I'm saying I'm out of my depth. You need someone with more resources, more connections. Like who? I don't know anyone like that. Attorney Kang pulled out a business card. Heavy paper, simple design, just a name and phone number. This is the person who paid your retainer. They left this card and said if things escalated, you should call directly. Makina took the card. The name meant nothing to her. Who is Lee Sung-min? I don't know. But someone who can afford my fees for 6 months without blinking? Someone who knew you'd need help before you did? That's someone with resources. She stared at the card. The phone number had a Seoul area code, nothing else identifying. Why would a stranger help me? That's a question you'll have to ask them yourself. Makina left the office with the card burning a hole in her pocket. She made it 2 blocks before calling the number. It rang 3 times. Hello. A woman's voice, professional but not cold. Hi, this is Makina Ndlovu. Attorney Kang gave me this number. 1 moment, please. Silence, then a click. A different voice, male this time. Mims. Ndlovu. I've been expecting your call. Something about the voice was familiar. Makina stopped walking. Who is this? Someone who wants to help. Can we meet? Somewhere public. Your choice. Why should I trust you? Because I've been helping you for weeks and haven't asked for anything in return. But if you want to handle this alone, I understand. The offer expires in 24 hours. The line went dead. Makina stood on the sidewalk, people flowing around her like water around a stone. Every instinct screamed this was a trap, but every fact whispered she needed help. She called back. The woman answered again. I'll meet, Makina said. Seoul Forest by the main fountain, 1 hour. And I'm bringing pepper spray. A pause, then what might have been a laugh. Wear comfortable shoes. We'll be walking. 1 hour later, Makina stood by the fountain, watching people jog past with their dogs. Couples took selfies, kids fed ducks, normal life. She was so focused on watching the paths that she didn't notice him until he spoke. You actually brought pepper spray. She spun around. Seo Jinwoo stood 3 feet away, hands in his pockets, wearing a light jacket and jeans. He looked nothing like the mysterious benefactor she'd been imagining. You, she said. Me, you're Lee Sung-min? That's my assistant. I prefer to keep my name out of certain transactions. He gestured to the path. Walk with me? Makina didn't move. Why are you helping me? Because 3 years ago you helped me. You don't remember, do you? Remember what? It was raining. Late night in Itaewon. He paused, choosing words carefully, in a difficult situation, bleeding. Someone had, let's say I'd made enemies. You found me in an alley. Makina's breath caught. She did remember. A man hurt, his face half covered in blood. She'd called an ambulance, stayed with him until it arrived. She'd never even learned his name. That was you? You told the paramedics I was your friend so they'd let you ride along. You stayed at the hospital for 3 hours, even though I was unconscious. You paid the initial treatment fee with money you probably didn't have. He met her eyes. The nurse told me later. A black foreign woman who barely spoke Korean but refused to leave until she knew I'd be okay. That was nothing. Anyone would have done that. No, they wouldn't. People see me in trouble and they walk the other way, either because they're scared or because they think I deserve it. He started walking, slowly. This time Makina followed. You didn't know who I was. You just saw someone who needed help." They walked in silence for a moment. Makina's mind was spinning. "So this is what, payback?" she finally asked. "This is me making sure the one person in Seoul who treated me like a human being doesn't get destroyed by people who treat humans like chess pieces. The articles, the legal fees, that was all you?" "Some of it. Let's say I've been encouraging certain journalists to reconsider their stories. Making sure your lawyer had resources, keeping an eye on things." Makina stopped walking. "That's insane. You don't even know me. I know you helped a stranger in an alley. I know you survived 5 years with the Park family, without losing yourself. I know you turned down money you desperately needed because you have principles." He stopped too, facing her. "I know enough. This feels wrong, like I'm using you or something. You're not using me. I'm choosing to help. There's a difference." They stood there, the fountain splashing behind them, people passing by without a second glance. If you're wondering whether Makina should trust this mysterious man, drop a comment below. Tell me if you think Jinwoo is genuinely trying to help, or if there's something else going on, because things are about to get a whole lot more complicated. "Okay," Makina said slowly. "Say I believe you. Say I accept your help. What exactly are you proposing?" Jinwoo smiled, and for the first time it reached his eyes. "Tell me about the pharmaceutical merger." They found a quiet bench away from the main paths. Makina explained what she'd found, the emails, the timing, Congressman Yoon's involvement. Jinwoo listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You realize what you have," he finally said. "Evidence of corruption. Evidence that could destroy some very powerful people. That's why they're coming after you so hard. They're not just protecting a reputation. They're protecting their freedom. So what do? You have 2 choices. Give me the files, let me handle this quietly, and disappear from their radar. Or," he paused, "you fight. You go public. You make so much noise they can't silence you. What would you do?" "I'd burn them to the ground. But I'm not the one taking the risk." He looked at her seriously. "Makina, if you fight this, it gets worse before it gets better. They'll escalate. More articles, more lies, maybe even legal charges. Are you prepared for that?" She thought about the past month, the job loss, the apartment, the articles, her mother's worried voice on the phone. "I'm tired of running," she said quietly. "I'm tired of being scared." "That's not an answer." "Yes, it is." She met his eyes. "I want to fight. Tell me how." Something changed in Jinwoo's expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition. "First, we secure the evidence. Multiple backups, multiple locations. Then we build a case. Not just about the merger, about everything. The articles, the coordination, the conspiracy to defame you. We make it so big they can't sweep it under the rug. That sounds expensive. I told you money isn't an issue, but why? Why spend your money, your time, your—" She gestured vaguely. "Whatever resources you have, on me." Jinwoo was quiet. When he spoke, his voice was softer. "Do you know what it's like to have everyone be afraid of you? To walk into a room and watch people calculate whether you're useful or dangerous? To have every interaction be a transaction?" He looked out at the park. "For 3 years, I've thought about that night in the rain. The only person in this entire city who looked at me and just saw someone who needed help. Not Seo Jinwoo the businessman, not someone with connections. Just a person." Makina's heart did something complicated in her chest. "I'm not some kind of saint," she said. "I was just doing what anyone should do." "Exactly." He turned back to her. "You did what anyone should do, but most people don't. That matters." They sat there as the afternoon light shifted through the trees. Makina felt like she was standing at a crossroads. One direction led to safety, obscurity, letting this all fade away. The other led into a fight she might not win. "Okay," she said, "let's burn them down. But I have conditions. Name them. I need to understand what I'm getting into. No secrets. You tell me who you really are, what your connections really mean. All these rumors about you, I need to know what's true." Jinwoo's jaw tightened. "That's complicated. So is trusting someone I barely know with evidence that could get me killed." He laughed, sharp and surprised. "Fair point." He stood up, offered her his hand. "Come on. If we're doing this, there's something you need to see." They took his car, a black sedan that looked normal until Makina noticed the driver, the way Jinwoo's phone kept buzzing with messages he ignored, the deference in people's eyes when they stopped at a light, and someone in the next car recognized him. "Where are we going?" she asked. "My office. If you want to know who I am, you should see what I do." The building was in Gangnam, glass and steel reaching into the sky. But Jin Woo didn't take her through the main entrance. They went to an underground garage, a private elevator that required a fingerprint scan. "This is very secret, Agent," McKenna said, trying to lighten the tension she felt building. "Wait until you see the laser grid in Shark Tank." She blinked. He was joking. Seo Jinwoo was actually joking. The elevator opened directly into an office. Not a hallway, not a lobby. Just straight into a massive space with windows overlooking Seoul. But McKenna barely noticed the view. She was staring at the walls. One entire side was covered in screens. News feeds, stock tickers, security camera footage. Another wall was a massive digital map of Seoul, with dozens of points marked in different colors. "What is this?" she breathed. "This is how I keep track of my interests." Jinwoo walked to a desk, touched a tablet. The screens changed. "I own 43 businesses in Seoul. Security firms, construction companies, restaurants, logistics operations. Each one is legitimate. Each one also gives me information. Information about what? Everything. Who's meeting with who? Money moving through the city. Deals being made. Problems being planned." He turned to face her. "You asked about the rumors. People say I have connections to organized crime. That's not exactly accurate. I don't work for them. They work for me. Or more precisely, we have mutual arrangements." McKenna's mouth went dry. "You're telling me you're a criminal. I'm telling you I operate in gray areas. I provide services. Protection, information, problem solving. Sometimes those services benefit people you'd call criminals. Sometimes they benefit prosecutors and politicians." He gestured at the screens. "I know where the bodies are buried because I control half the shovels in Seoul. This is insane. This is survival. When you grow up the way I did, you learn that official power isn't the only kind that matters. Sometimes it's not even the most important kind." McKenna walked to the windows, trying to process. Below, the city sprawled in every direction. Millions of people living their lives. And somewhere in that maze, a handful of people were trying to destroy her. "Why are you really helping me?" she asked without turning around. His reflection appeared in the glass beside hers. "Because I've spent 15 years building this empire, and the whole time I've been alone. Business partners who fear me, associates who use me, women who want the power or the money or the story they can tell their friends." His voice was quiet. "Then one night I was bleeding in an alley, and a woman who had every reason to walk away decided to stay. She didn't want anything. She didn't know who I was. She just stayed." McKenna turned to face him. They were close now, close enough that she could see gold flecks in his dark eyes. "I'm not that same person anymore," she said. 5 years with the Park family changed me, made me harder. Good. Soft doesn't survive what's coming." Her heart was pounding. This was crazy. All of it. Trusting this man, getting involved in whatever world he inhabited, fighting people with unlimited resources and no conscience. But the alternative was running, hiding, letting them win. "So what's the plan?" she asked. Jinwoo smiled. It was the kind of smile that probably made his enemies very nervous. "First, we make them think they're winning." Over the next week, McKenna's life got worse. Another article appeared, claiming she'd had an affair during her marriage. The source was supposedly a hotel employee, complete with dates and room numbers, all fabricated, but detailed enough to be believable. She lost another job opportunity. A small company that had been interested in hiring her suddenly went silent. Her social media exploded with hate. People she'd never met felt entitled to tell her exactly what they thought of her in the most vicious language possible. But this time, McKenna knew something they didn't. Jinwoo's team was documenting everything. Every article, every source, every connection. Building a web that linked Mrs. Park to journalists. Journalists to Congressman Yoon's office. The congressman's office to the pharmaceutical company. "It's beautiful," Jinwoo's assistant Sung-min said, showing McKenna the evidence chart. "They think they're being careful, but money leaves trails. So do favors." "How long until we have enough?" McKenna asked. "Soon. But there's a problem." Of course there was. "What problem?" Sung-min pulled up a photo. A man in his 50s, expensive suit, cold eyes. "This is Chief Prosecutor Hwang. He's the one who'd normally handle a case this size. He's also Congressman Yoon's brother-in-law, so he's corrupt too, probably. Which means we can't go through normal channels. We need to force their hand, make it public enough that they can't bury it." McKenna thought about that. How public? Very. National news, social media. Make it impossible to ignore, so I become an even bigger target. For a while, yes. Jinwoo, who'd been silent until now, finally spoke. "There's another option. You disappear. Take the evidence, leave Korea. I have contacts in South Africa. You could go home, be safe. McKenna looked at him. Is that what you want me to do? I want you alive and whole. Everything else is negotiable. The way he said it made her chest feel tight, like he actually meant it. Like she wasn't just a project or a debt to repay. I'm not running, she said. When do we make our move? Sungmin and Jinwoo exchanged glances. There's a charity gala in 2 weeks, Sungmin said. Everyone will be there. The Parks, Congressman Yoon, all their associates. Press coverage, live streaming. If you were to make a statement then, they'd destroy me before I finished the first sentence. Not if we destroy them first. Jinwoo pulled up a timeline on the screen. We leak preliminary evidence the day before. Just enough to make people curious. Then at the gala, you give the full story. Names, dates, documents. Everything. They'll sue me into oblivion. They'll try. But if public opinion turns against them first, if people are already angry, already demanding answers, lawsuits start looking like confirmation of guilt. McKenna's hands were shaking. She clasped them together. And if it doesn't work, if people don't believe me? Jinwoo moved closer. Not touching, but close enough that she felt the warmth of him. Then I make them believe you, one way or another. There was something in his voice that made her think he wasn't talking about legal remedies. I don't want anyone getting hurt because of me, she said quietly. Too late. You got hurt because of them. Now it's my turn. The way he looked at her made her forget how to breathe. This wasn't just about repaying a debt. This wasn't just about justice. This was personal for him. Jinwoo, she started, but didn't know how to finish. He seemed to understand anyway. I know. This is complicated, but McKenna, I need you to know something. Whatever happens at that gala, whatever comes after, I'm not going anywhere. You're not alone in this. You barely know me. I know enough, and I want to know more. If you'll let me. Her heart was doing that complicated thing again. She should say no. This was too much, too fast, too dangerous. Instead, she said, okay. Okay, you'll let me help? Okay to all of it. Something changed in his expression. Relief maybe, or hope. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his hand found hers. 2 weeks, he said. We have 2 weeks to get ready. Are you sure about this? McKenna thought about everything she'd lost. Her marriage, her reputation, her place in this city. Then she thought about everything she'd gained. Her freedom, her voice. This strange, intense connection with a man who saw her as more than a scandal or a stranger. I'm sure, she said. And for the first time in months, she actually believed things might be okay. That night, alone in her small apartment, McKenna's phone buzzed. Unknown number. But she knew who it was now. Thank you for trusting me. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we start preparing. She smiled and typed back. Do you ever sleep? Not when I have something important to protect. Her face went hot. She was about to respond when another message came through. That was too much, wasn't it? Sungmin says I'm bad at this. Bad at what? Talking to someone I actually care about instead of someone I'm doing business with. McKenna's fingers hovered over the keyboard. This was real. Whatever this was becoming, it was real. You're doing fine, she typed. Better than fine. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Sleep well, McKenna. You too, Jinwoo. She fell asleep with her phone in her hand, a smile on her face, and for the first time in weeks, no nightmares. But while she slept, across the city, other people were making plans too. In a private club in Gangnam, Mrs. Park met with Congressman Yoon and Chief Prosecutor Hwang. The foreign woman is becoming a problem, Mrs. Park said, her voice tight with anger. She's not disappearing quietly. I told you we should have offered her more money, Minho said from the corner. He'd been dragged to this meeting by his mother. Quiet, she snapped. You've done enough damage marrying her in the first place. Congressman Yoon sipped his whiskey, unbothered by the tension. What exactly is the problem? Some divorced woman complaining about bad press? That's hardly unusual. She's digging, Chief Prosecutor Hwang said quietly. I have sources. She's been asking questions about the GenMed merger. The room went very quiet. She can't prove anything, Mrs. Park said, but she sounded uncertain. She was in the office during that time, Minho said reluctantly. She had access to files. I mean, she never seemed to pay attention to business, but nothing, the prosecutor cut him off. If she has documents, if she makes noise, people will investigate. And if people investigate, they'll find things we'd prefer stayed buried. So what do we do? Mrs. Park demanded. The congressman set down his glass. We escalate. Serious charges. Something criminal. Make her so busy defending herself that she has no time to attack us. What kind of charges? theft, fraud, maybe even industrial espionage. I have contacts who can create paper trails, manufacture evidence. By the time she proves her innocence, if she can, no one will care about some merger from 3 years ago. Min-ho stood up. Wait, you're talking about sending her to prison for something she didn't do. I'm talking about protecting all of us from something we did do, the congressman said coldly. Unless you'd prefer to be the one in prison, Min-ho sat back down. When, Mrs. Park asked. Soon. Before she gains any more sympathy. Before anyone starts taking her seriously. The prosecutor smiled. Don't worry. I've done this before. By the time we're finished, McKenna and Lovu will wish she'd never heard of Korea. They didn't know that outside the private room, a server was listening. A server who worked for Jin Woo. A server whose earpiece was transmitting every word to a recording device 3 blocks away. The war was about to begin, and neither side knew yet just how badly it was going to hurt before it was over. Jin Woo called McKenna at 6 in the morning. They're making their move. Get dressed. I'm sending a car. She was still half asleep. What? What move? I'll explain when you get here. Pack a bag. You're not going back to your apartment for a few days. That woke her up. Jin Woo, what's happening? They're going to file criminal charges. Today. I need you somewhere safe before the arrest warrant goes through. Her stomach dropped. Arrest warrant? Trust me. Please. The car will be there in 10 minutes. He hung up before she could argue. McKenna threw clothes into a bag with shaking hands. Criminal charges. They were actually going to have her arrested. For what? What could they possibly claim she did? The car arrived exactly 10 minutes later. The driver was a woman this time, professional and silent. She drove through Seoul's early morning traffic like she'd done this 1,000 times. They didn't go to Jinwoo's office. Instead, the car pulled into an underground garage beneath a luxury apartment building. The driver led her to a private elevator. Top floor, she said. He's waiting. The elevator opened directly into an apartment. No, not an apartment. A penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing Seoul waking up below. Minimalist furniture. Art on the walls that probably cost more than McKenna's entire education. Jinwoo was on the phone, pacing. When he saw her, he ended the call immediately. You're here. Good. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept. Coffee? Explanation, McKenna said. He gestured for her to sit, then pulled up a recording on his tablet. Listen to this. It was the conversation from the private club. Mrs. Park, the congressman, the prosecutor, all of it. Planning to frame her, create evidence, send her to prison. McKenna's hands clenched into fists. They're actually going to do this. They already started. Chief Prosecutor Huang filed preliminary paperwork last night. By this afternoon, there'll be an arrest warrant for corporate espionage and theft of trade secrets. Based on what evidence? Evidence they're creating right now. Fake emails, forged documents, probably a witness or two they've paid off. Jinwoo sat across from her. But we have this recording. We have proof they're conspiring against you. So we go public now. Release the recording. Stop them before. If we release it now, they'll claim it's fake, that we fabricated it to defend you against legitimate charges. We need to wait. Wait for what? For them to arrest me? No. Jinwoo's voice was firm. I won't let that happen. But if we move too soon, we lose the element of surprise. They need to think they're winning. McKenna stood up, too agitated to sit. So what? I just hide here while they tell the entire country I'm a criminal. Yes. That's insane. That's strategy. He stood too, moving closer. McKenna, I know this is hard, but we're so close. 2 more weeks until the gala. We release everything then, all at once. The recording, the merger documents, everything. We bury them so completely they can't recover. And if something goes wrong, if they find me here, they won't. This building has security that makes the Blue House look casual. You'll be safe. She wanted to argue, but the look in his eyes stopped her. He wasn't just being strategic. He was genuinely worried about her. Okay, she said quietly. 2 weeks. But Jinwoo, I can't just sit here doing nothing. I'll go crazy. You won't be doing nothing. We have work to do. Preparing your statement, organizing evidence, getting ready for the gala. He smiled slightly. Also, Sungmin is bringing breakfast. She makes really good kimchi jjigae. Despite everything, McKenna almost laughed. You're trying to bribe me with stew? Is it working? Maybe. The news broke at noon. Former chaebol daughter-in-law wanted for corporate espionage. The articles were everywhere. Television news, online media, social platforms. Photos of McKenna that made her look suspicious, guilty. Quotes from anonymous sources claiming she'd stolen trade secrets worth billions of won. Minho gave a statement. He looked appropriately sad and betrayed. I trusted her completely. We all did. To learn she was stealing from the company this whole time, it's devastating. Mrs. Park appeared on a news program, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. We tried to protect her. We knew people would judge her for being foreign, so we kept her close. And this is how she repays our kindness. It was a masterclass in manipulation. They looked like victims. Makina looked like a criminal. She watched it all from Jinwoo's penthouse, her nails digging into her palms. Breathe, Jinwoo said beside her. He'd barely left her side all day. They're so convincing. What if people believe them? Some will, but not everyone. Look. He showed her his phone. Social media was divided. Half believed the Park family, but half were asking questions. Why did they wait until now to report this? If she stole secrets, where's the proof? This sounds like revenge for the divorce. Something doesn't add up here. Small voices of doubt. But they were there. Public opinion is shifting, Sungmin said, walking in with more coffee. Slowly. But it's happening. People are getting tired of the Park family's victim routine. Not fast enough, Makina muttered. Fast enough for what we need. Sungmin sat down, all business. Okay, let's talk gala strategy. The event is in 12 days. We need your statement prepared, evidence organized, and a backup plan in case things go wrong. What kind of backup plan? Jinwoo and Sungmin exchanged looks. The kind where, if they try to have you arrested at the gala, we have 3 different exit routes and a lawyer on standby with a judge's phone number, Jinwoo said. McKenna blinked. You're serious. Always. For the next week, McKenna lived in Jinwoo's penthouse. It was strange at first, this forced intimacy. But they fell into a rhythm. Mornings were for preparation. Sungmin drilled her on the statement, anticipating every question reporters might ask. They organized evidence into a presentation that even a child could understand. Charts showing money flow. Timelines proving coordination. The recording from the club. Afternoons, Jinwoo worked from home, his office set up on the dining table. Makina found herself watching him sometimes. The way he focused completely on whatever problem he was solving. How he spoke to people. Always calm but with an edge that made them listen. Evenings were quieter. They'd eat dinner together. Usually something Sungmin had ordered, because neither of them could cook. They'd talk about everything except the case. Makina told him about growing up in Johannesburg, her family, why she'd come to Korea in the first place. He told her about building his empire from nothing. Growing up poor, angry, determined to never be powerless again. I'm not a good person, he said one night. They were sitting by the windows, watching the city lights. I've done things I'm not proud of. Hurt people who probably didn't deserve it. Why are you telling me this? Because you should know. Before this goes any further, you should know what you're getting into. Makina looked at him. Really looked. The sharp edges, the careful control, the loneliness he tried to hide. I think you're better than you believe you are, she said quietly. His laugh was bitter. You have too much faith in people. Maybe. Or maybe you've spent so long being what people expected that you forgot who you actually are. He turned to face her. They were close now, the space between them charged with everything unsaid. And who do you think I am? His voice was low. Someone who spent 3 years remembering a stranger who helped him. Someone who's using all his power to protect someone else instead of himself. Someone who makes sure I eat even when he forgets to. She smiled. Someone who's terrible at pretending he doesn't care. Makina, he started, but she wasn't finished. I know this is complicated. I know the timing is terrible. I know you're probably not looking for whatever this is. But Jinwoo, I need you to know something too. She took a breath. I see you. Not the rumors, not the reputation. You. And I like what I see. The silence stretched between them. Then Jinwoo did something she'd never seen him do. He smiled. Really smiled. The kind that transformed his whole face. I've been trying not to say that for 2 weeks, he admitted. Why? Because you're dealing with enough. Because the last thing you need is me making this more complicated. Because. He stopped. Because what? Because I've never felt like this before, and it's terrifying. Makina's heart was pounding so hard she was sure he could hear it. Like what? Like I'd burn down the entire city if it meant keeping you safe. Like your smile matters more than every business deal I've ever made. Like I want to know everything about you, and I'm angry I wasted 3 years not looking for you. He reached out, his hand cupping her cheek. Like I'm falling for you, and I don't know how to stop. She leaned into his touch. Don't stop. He kissed her then. Soft at first, questioning. When she kissed him back, His hand slid into her hair, pulling her closer. It was gentle and intense, and everything she didn't know she needed. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jinwoo rested his forehead against hers. "After the gala," he said. "After all this is over, I want to do this right. Take you to dinner, court you properly. All of it." "Court me?" Makina laughed. "What century are you from? Mock me all you want. You're still getting flowers and proper dates. I'm holding you to that." "Good." They sat there together, the city sprawling below them, and for a moment everything else faded away. The scandal, the danger, the impossible fight ahead. Right now, it was just them. But reality came crashing back the next morning. "They're escalating," Sung Min announced, bursting into the penthouse. "Chief Prosecutor Huang is holding a press conference in 2 hours. He's going to formally announce the warrant and ask the public for help locating you." "A manhunt," Makina said flatly. "They're actually doing a manhunt. Which means we move up our timeline," Jinwoo said. He was already on his phone, typing rapidly. "The gala is in 4 days. We can't wait anymore. What are you thinking? We leaked the preliminary evidence today. Not everything. Just enough to make people question the prosecution. Then at the gala, we hit them with the rest. That gives them 4 days to prepare a defense," Sungmin pointed out. "It also gives them 4 days to panic and make mistakes. Panic makes people sloppy." Jinwoo looked at Makina. "But it means you'll be a bigger target. They'll know we're coming for them. I can handle it, Makina. I can handle it," she repeated firmly. "Let's do this." The leak went live at noon, an anonymous post on a major online forum. Just a few documents, dates showing the merger timing. Questions about Congressman Yoon's approval. Screenshots of financial transfers between the Park family and certain journalists. No accusations, just questions. But questions were enough. Within an hour, it was trending. News outlets picked it up. People started digging, asking their own questions. The narrative began to shift. Chief Prosecutor Huang's press conference was a disaster. Reporters didn't ask about Makina's supposed crimes. They asked about the merger, the timing, his relationship to Congressman Yoon. He stumbled through answers, growing more defensive. Someone asked if the charges against Makina were retaliation for her having information about corruption. "That's absurd," he snapped. "This is a legitimate criminal investigation. Then why file charges right after documents about the GenMed merger leaked online?" He had no good answer. Makina watched it from the penthouse, Jinwoo beside her. "It's working," she breathed. "Phase 1 is working. Now comes the hard part." The hard part was the gala. The Seoul Elite Charity Foundation's annual fundraiser was the social event of the season. Everyone who mattered would be there. Politicians, business leaders, celebrities, media. It was invitation only, black tie, the kind of event that made or broke reputations. Jinwoo had tickets, of course. He'd donated enough money over the years to have permanent access. "You'll be my +1, he explained. "We'll walk in together. Make a statement just by being there. They'll try to have me arrested the moment I show my face. Let them try. I have 3 lawyers on speed dial and a judge who owes me a favor. Plus, the event is being live-streamed. Arresting you in front of cameras would make them look desperate." "They are desperate." "Exactly. Which makes them dangerous." He took her hands. "Are you absolutely sure about this? Once we walk in there, there's no going back." Makina thought about everything that had led to this moment. The divorce, the humiliation, the articles, the lies. 5 years of making herself smaller to fit into a family that never wanted her. Weeks of watching her reputation get destroyed by people who knew the truth. "I'm sure," she said. "Let's end this." The night of the gala, McKenna stood in front of the mirror in Jinwoo's guest room. Sung Min had brought a dress, simple, elegant, deep blue, nothing flashy. She didn't need to make a statement with her clothes. Her presence would do that. Jinwoo knocked on the door. "Ready?" She opened it. He was in a black suit, perfectly tailored. For a moment, they just looked at each other. "You're beautiful," he said quietly. "You clean up okay yourself." He smiled, then his expression turned serious. "Last chance to back out. Not a chance. Then let's go make some enemies very unhappy." The car ride was quiet. Makina's hands were shaking. Jinwoo reached over, laced his fingers through hers. "I'm right here," he said. "Whatever happens, I'm right here." "I know." The gala was at a historic hotel in the heart of Seoul. Red carpet, photographers, the works. As their car pulled up, Makina could see the crowd. Elegant people in expensive clothes, all pretending their charity donations made them good people. "Ready?" Jinwoo asked. "No, but let's do it anyway." They stepped out of the car together. The reaction was immediate. Cameras flashed. Reporters surged forward. Everyone was shouting questions at once. And Ndlovu, are you aware there's a warrant for your arrest? Mr. Seo, are you representing Ms. Ndlovu? Is it true you have evidence of corruption? Jinwoo kept his hand on the small of her back, guiding her forward. They walked up the red carpet like they owned it. Because tonight, they kind of did. Inside, the ballroom was stunning. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, flowers everywhere, and everyone was staring. Mrs. Park stood near the bar. When she saw Makina, her face went white, then red. Minho was there, too, with a woman Makina didn't recognize. Probably the girlfriend he'd had during their marriage. Congressman Yoon sat at a head table, his expression carefully neutral. They look worried, Makina murmured. Good. They should be. Jinwoo led her to their table. Other guests whispered as they passed. Some looked curious. Some looked scandalized. None of them looked indifferent. The evening began with dinner, speeches about charity and giving back. Makina barely tasted her food. She was watching Mrs. Park, who kept glancing at her phone. Planning something, probably. Sure enough, halfway through the main course, security guards approached their table. Miss Ndlovu, you need to come with us. The room went quiet. Jinwoo stood. On whose authority? Chief Prosecutor Huang has issued a warrant. We're here to execute it. At a private charity event? Without proper police presence. Jinwoo's voice carried across the silent room. That's not protocol. That's harassment. The security guard looked uncertain. Mrs. Park stood up. She's a criminal. She should be arrested wherever she's found. She's accused, Jinwoo corrected. Innocent until proven guilty. Or does that not apply when you're the one making accusations? Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Makina stood too. Her heart was pounding, but her voice was steady. Actually, I have something to say. Since everyone's here, since the cameras are rolling, I think it's time people heard the truth. If you're on the edge of your seat right now, wait until you hear what happens next. Make sure you're subscribed because this confrontation is about to get intense. You don't want to miss how this all ends. Mrs. Park's eyes narrowed. You have nothing to say that anyone wants to hear. Really? Because I think people might want to hear about the GenMed pharmaceutical merger. The one that happened 3 years ago, 2 weeks before new safety regulations took effect. The one Congressman Yoon approved despite the timing being very suspicious. The room erupted in whispers. Congressman Yoon stood. This is slander. It's documented fact, Makina said. She pulled out her phone. Jinwoo had already connected it to the venue's display system. Documents appeared on the screens around the room. These are the merger approval papers. Note the dates. Note the signatures. This is a charity gala, not a courtroom, Chief Prosecutor Huang said, standing as well. You're right. In a courtroom, you'd have to explain why you filed criminal charges against me the same week these documents leaked online. Makina advanced to the center of the room. The cameras followed her. This was being live-streamed to thousands of people. You'd have to explain why my ex-mother-in-law has been meeting with journalists, feeding them false stories about me for weeks. Lies, Mrs. Park hissed. Really? Because I have photos, dates, financial records showing payments from the Park family to 3 different media outlets. More documents appeared on screen. I have emails proving coordination between your family, the congressman's office, and the prosecutor's office. Minho stood now too. Makina, stop. You don't know what you're doing. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm exposing the truth you all tried so hard to bury. She looked directly at him. You wanted to divorce me? Fine. I never loved you either. But your family decided I knew too much, that I'd seen too much. So they launched a campaign to destroy my credibility. Make me look like a liar so if I ever came forward, no one would believe me. This is fantasy, Congressman Yoon said. But he looked worried. Is it? Jinwoo stepped forward. Then explain this. He played the recording. The conversation from the private club. All of it. Their voices filled the ballroom, planning to frame Makina, create false evidence, send her to prison. The room was dead silent. When it finished, Mrs. Park was shaking. That was taken illegally. It's not admissible. In court, maybe not, Jinwoo said calmly. But we're not in court. We're in the court of public opinion. And 10,000 people just heard you conspire to commit fraud. Phones came out around the room. People recording, photographing, posting to social media in real time. Chief Prosecutor Huang moved toward the exit. Jinwoo made a subtle gesture. 2 large men blocked the door, not threatening, just present. I think you should stay, Jinwoo said pleasantly. The night's just getting started. Makina turned to address the room at large. For weeks, I've been called a gold digger, a liar, a thief. My reputation has been destroyed. I lost my job, my home, my peace of mind. All because I accidentally saw documents proving corruption, and powerful people decided I was a liability. You trapped my son into marriage, Mrs. Park said desperately. You used him. I married someone I thought I could build a life with. I was wrong. He was cheating on me for 2 years. She looked at Minho. You want to tell them, or should I? Minho's face went red. The woman beside him looked shocked. You told me you were divorced, she said to him. It's complicated, he stammered. He filed for divorce after I caught him, Makina said. Not because I'd done anything wrong. Because he wanted to marry someone else, and I was in the way. Everything after that, all the articles, all the accusations, that was your family protecting themselves. Not from me, from the truth. Mrs. Park lunged forward. For a moment, Makina thought she might actually attack her, but Jinwoo stepped between them, his expression dangerous. Don't, he said quiet, one word, but it carried weight. Mrs. Park stopped. Congressman Yoon tried a different approach. Even if some of these accusations have merit, that doesn't excuse Ms. and Lovu's theft of corporate secrets. What theft? Makina turned to him. Name one secret I stole, one document I took. You can't, because it never happened. You fabricated charges to silence me. And Chief Prosecutor Huang helped you, because he's your brother-in-law and he was part of the original corruption. I could have you arrested right now, Huang said. Try it, Jinwoo said. His voice was soft, but everyone heard the threat underneath. Arrest her in front of all these witnesses, all these cameras. Right after, she's presented evidence of a conspiracy. See what happens to your career. Huang's jaw clenched, but he didn't move. It's over, Makina said to all of them. Your lies, your manipulation, your attempts to destroy me. It's all over. The evidence is public now. People know the truth. You can try to fight it, but you'll lose. Because the one thing you didn't count on was me refusing to disappear quietly. The room erupted. Reporters shouting questions. Guests talking over each other. Security not sure who to protect or arrest. In the chaos, Mrs. Park's face crumpled. For the first time, she looked old and defeated. Minho just stood there, his new girlfriend storming away. Congressman Yoon and Chief Prosecutor Huang were surrounded by reporters demanding answers. Jinwoo took Makina's hand. Time to go. They walked out together, cameras flashing, questions flying. But Makina held her head high. She'd done it. She'd fought back. She'd won. The next week was a whirlwind. The evidence McKenna presented went viral. News outlets investigated, found more proof of corruption. Congressman Yoon resigned under pressure. Chief Prosecutor Huang was suspended pending investigation. The Park family lost business contracts as companies distanced themselves from the scandal. Minho's company stock dropped 20%. Mrs. Park stopped appearing in public. As for Makina, the narrative completely flipped. She went from villain to victim to hero. People apologized for believing the lies. Job offers appeared. Interview requests flooded in. She turned most of them down. I just want my life back, she told Jinwoo. They were at his penthouse watching the sunset. Not fame, not revenge, just peace. You'll have it, he promised. This will die down eventually. And us? She looked at him. What happens with us? Jinwoo smiled. I believe I promised you proper dates and courting. You did. Then how about dinner tomorrow? Somewhere quiet. Just us. That sounds perfect. He kissed her, soft and sweet. When they pulled apart, he was still smiling. I love you, he said. Simple, direct. I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring this out. But I love you, and I wanted you to know. Makina's eyes stung with happy tears. I love you too. They stood there together. Two people who'd found each other in the strangest circumstances. He'd spent 3 years remembering her kindness. She'd spent weeks learning his hidden depths. Now they had the chance to build something real. 3 months later, Makina had a new job at an international nonprofit. She'd moved into a beautiful apartment, paid for with her own money. She'd reconnected with friends, rebuilt her reputation, started healing, and she was happy. Actually, genuinely happy. She and Jinwoo went on proper dates. Museums, restaurants, long walks through Seoul. He introduced her to parts of his world. She showed him parts of hers. They learned each other, slowly, deliberately. Some people whispered about them. The disgraced ex-wife and the dangerous businessman. But Makina found she didn't care anymore what people thought. One evening, she came home to find a package at her door. No return address, just her name in unfamiliar handwriting. Inside was a USB drive and a note. Congratulations on your victory. But the game isn't over. Someone else has been watching. Someone else knows what you know. Be careful who you trust, even him. The note wasn't signed. Makina's blood ran cold. She checked the USB drive on her laptop. It contained photos of her and Jinwoo, taken from angles his security cameras didn't cover. Private moments. The coffee shop where they'd first talked. The park where he'd told her about helping him. Even inside his penthouse, though how someone could photograph through those windows she couldn't imagine. At the bottom was a video file. She almost didn't click it, but she had to know. The video showed a meeting. Jinwoo, sitting across from someone Makina didn't recognize. The conversation was muted, but there were subtitles. Can you control her? I don't control her, I protect her. Same thing. Will she keep quiet about the other files? What other files? Don't play games. The Gen-Med merger wasn't the only thing she saw. Jinwoo's expression on the video was unreadable. She doesn't know about the rest, and she won't. I'll make sure of it. The video ended. Makina sat there, her whole world tilting. What other files? What else had she seen that she didn't remember? And was Jinwoo protecting her, or protecting secrets? Her phone buzzed. Jinwoo calling. Hey beautiful, I'm on my way over. Want me to bring dinner? Makina looked at the USB drive, at the photos, at the video of the man she loved discussing, keeping secrets from her. Actually, she heard herself say, I'm not feeling great. Rain check? A pause. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Just tired. I'll call you tomorrow. After they hung up, Makina sat in the growing darkness of her apartment. She'd thought the fight was over. She'd thought she'd won. But this package, these photos, this video, they suggested something else entirely. The war might have just been the opening act, and the real battle was about to begin. So there you have it. Makina took on her powerful in-laws and won. She found love with someone who saw her for who she really was. But now there's a mystery even bigger than the one she just solved. Who's been watching them? What other secrets are hiding in her past? And can she trust Jinwoo completely? Or is he hiding something that could destroy them both? If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me what you think is on those other files, and whether you think Jinwoo is being honest with Makina. Because something tells me their story is far from over. And whatever comes next, it's going to be even more intense than what we just witnessed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.